Oil bulls die on the vine again. Next on the Energy Newsbeat Daily Stand-Up.
President Trump reveals Iran would like to talk about a nuclear deal since they're not winning the war against Israel. This is critical, Michael, because when you sit back and take a look, breaking, Iran wants to de-escalate hostilities with Israel and negotiate as long as the United States does not join the attack, according to the Wall Street Journal. Wall Street Journal, Iran has urgently been signaling it now seeks an end to the hostilities. Yay! I think that is fantastic. This actually ran from the New York Post, and it's one of the first times we've run a story from the New York Post in a long time, but I thought it was important enough in order to do that, hey, I don't want a war. We don't want to be there. I don't think most Americans don't want us to be there.
Yeah, no, I mean, I think, Iran smartly understands that getting the United States involved may not end well for them. And that has some definitely significant impacts to the oil business, which we will see mainly, quote, we need peace. Let's move to this next one, though, because I think this one is just as important. What's going on with the Strait of Hormuz?
You bet. And Naval Force sees minor cargo dip via oil choke point on a Strait of Hormuz. What it means for energy investors. This is a very big story when you take a look at the traffic monitoring group that is out there doing this right now. We mentioned this on yesterday's podcast, and this is very important to say that they only got rafts and dinghies, and they only got like one or two battleships. They're not going to be able to stop a blockade. And then you take a look at the other story that we just talked about. They're not wanting to really isolate themselves anymore. So I think that this is absolutely a wonderful story as far as logistics. And guess who would be hurt if the Strait of Hormuz was actually shut down, Michael? It'd be the Asian markets. It'd be China and California.
I was going to say, our favorite governor.
Well, let's go to Rystad on the next story. Rystad oil prices to remain below $80 despite escalating Middle East tensions. I think Rystad has the same idea on this story, is that they're seeing that everybody is wanting to shut this down except Netanyahu and Israel. So I think the whole rest of the world wants this thing shut down. And I couldn't agree more. But I'm rooting for the Iranian people to have a regime change. I want to be honest with you. Let's get rid of the clerics that have been bugging us for 40 years and get a regime change by the people, not the CIA.
Yeah, I mean, I tend to agree again with Rystad's analysis here. And I think the funny part is, Stu, you were the one calling for $80 oil, and yet you're agreeing right here with Rystad. But I think what this means, from an investment standpoint, this is why gambling on tensions and war and things that are geopolitically out of your control is a bad idea, because you really never know where they'll go. On Thursday night, everybody thought oil was going to go to 100. As it sits today, I mean, we'll cover this. Oil's actually now dropped below 70, reopening after the market rollover at 415. And we're now in a standpoint where, well, we may actually just be back down to 65, because it is what it is. Iran is scared. Nobody thought that on Thursday. So this is where, as if you're an investor and you're trying to weigh geopolitical risk, it's easier to just price out geopolitical risk altogether than it is to try to gamble on, oh, well, it might be 70 if war breaks out. That's it.
Right.
I mean, first off, that's morally, that's a little weird to put in there. But second off, there's just no way you're going to be able to do it.
No. And when I look at well economics, that's what I look at. And then when you take a look at the amount of investment that is still needed, Michael, and then you look at demand, there's a magic formula. And for our reviews, well economics makes a difference, because it tells you where you're going to drill. Let's go to this next one here. The greatest oxymoron statement of all times, renewable energy. I absolutely get a chuckle out of my emails from Ronald Stein. He sent this article over and goes, would you mind running this one? I'm like, absolutely, let's run this story. Any oxymoron is a figure of speech where contradictory or opposing words are combined to create a striking, thought-provoking effect. Examples include deafening silence, organized chaos, perpetual motion machines, and today's favorite among zero-emission policies, Renewable energy. Renewable energy, Michael, also goes with net zero and fiscal failure. So all these go in together. It's kind of fun. The so-called renewables of wind, solar, and I need to add hydrogen in there, only exist in the few wealthy countries that can afford to subsidize an oxymoron fantasy. Well done. And we also have a link in there to the last show with Ronald Stein and Mike Umbro when we talked about California.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, we've been saying this for a while now. It truly, truly is an oxymoron from that standpoint. We love them over, we love Ronald Stein. We love Mike Umbro. So I think it's a great, great thing. It's just really hard when your entire business is based on subsidies. Wait, what do you mean?
Yeah, what do you mean? In fact, I follow this guy on X called Retard Finders, and if renewable energy was a person, Retard Finders would be trolling them. So honestly, this guy is hilarious. You've got to follow Retard Finders. Let's go to the last story. Total Energy explains. I never thought I'd have a shout out to Retard Finders. Okay, Total Energy explains Malaysia with Petronas deal. Michael, this story is important for a couple reasons. And you take a look at TotalEnergies, as we say here, yes.
Oh, it was TotalEnergies.
Oh, TotalEnergies. I was like, did I just poop under rug? Ooh. Oh, no. So net income was $42 billion, down from $5.1 billion in Q1 of 2024 due to lower oil prices and weaker downstream performance. And you take a look at how they've taken a look at this. Why are they expanding out? Oh, wait a minute. TotalEnergies, Shell, and BP are following in the footsteps of the U.S. oil companies, and they're going after a bigger market share around the world, and they're expanding into Malaysia to get money back into their thing. Because, Michael, remember the European countries took a left turn to the renewable energy market, and they failed. And so they're trying to get their money back. And now when you take a look at why this is really good. The update from LNGprime.com, under the deal, TotalEnergies will hold alongside Petronas its wholly owned subsidiary, Petronas Cargale. I hope I got that right. 50% of operating working interest in blocks SK301B and SK313 were significant gas discoveries.
Ooh. Well, I mean, it's what you're seeing is the expansion into specifically LNG has been critical. And that's where all of these super majors are going. I mean, think about, we talked about yesterday, what's really the prized asset that BP has that Abu Dhabi National Oil Company is looking at? They're looking at the gas assets. Why was TotalEnergies interested in Malaysia? Well, their gas assets specifically through Petronas partnership. So, I mean, the world is moving towards LNG. And again, as a capital allocator, you need to understand that if you're investing in heavy oil prospects, you need to understand what that means for you. It means it may mean that the divestiture market is weakening. Now, that's on a global scale. If you're looking at equities, obviously when you get into individual deal by deal, it's a little bit different. So that's great. Let's just quickly jump over to oil and gas finance, Stu. But before we do that, let's go ahead and quickly pay the bills. As always, thank you for checking us out. World's greatest website, .energynewsbeat.com. Hit that description and link below for all links to the timestamps, links to the articles. Check us out on Substack, theenergynewsbeat.substack.com. It's the best way to support the show. We roll out a bunch of content that you can only find on Substack. Stu writes a great once a day article kind of summarizing what he's seeing in the oil and gas business. We've got a great research tab for paid only subscribers where we dive into a bunch of stuff that is specifically to oil and gas investments. So if you're needing a little bit of help on that standpoint, check that out. theenergynewsbeat.substack.com. Shout out to friends of the show, Reese Energy Consulting. We really appreciate their support. Guys, if you're in the midstream space and you're not working with Reese Energy Consulting, you're doing yourselves a disservice. They've worked with clients from two guys in a garage all the way up to the largest publicly traded midstream companies in the business and the largest publicly traded upstream companies, because they help you as an upstream company understand where you fit in the midstream market. They're an excellent marketing company. Highly recommend you check that out. It's energyconsulting.com. Tell them Energy Newsbeat sent you. And finally, guys, if you're interested in adding oil and gas to your portfolio, go ahead and check out investinoil.energynewsbeat.com for you to go ahead and fill out a survey, which will tell us whether or not you might be a good fit. And we will send you all the information on how to invest in the oil and gas business and possibly point you in the right direction, depending on what you say. We have a great ebook that we'll send you by a good colleague of ours, Paul. So we really, really, truly appreciate that. But Stu, let's look at top line headlines real quick. S&P 500 up 1%, NASDAQ up about a 1.5 percentage points, 2 and 10-year yields up 0.5 percentage point and 0.1 percentage point. Dollar index flat, NASDAQ flat. Bitcoin was actually up 3 percentage points, 108.56. Crude oil just dropped, was flat on the day, has dropped below 70 as we record this about 5:15 on the 16th. So, a pretty interesting drop there. Kind of goes to show you again what we talked a little bit about. Whereas, if Iran wants peace and you're trying to price in geopolitical risk, you need to know these things. Natural gas up to $3.72. XOP was up about 0.2 percentage point, up to 133.10. Again, as I mentioned, during the trading day, oil prices fell about $1. Again, mainly on that fact that Iran wants to seek a truce. Iran asked their Arabian neighbors to continue to press the U.S. and specifically President Trump to seek to push for an Israeli ceasefire. The critical key oil export infrastructure, Karg Island, all the other stuff, the Strait of Hormuz was so far spared, with I think Israel knowing that, if they want to send the world into chaos, go attack those. So they went ahead and did that. That's really kind of the bulk of the territory. A lot of what we saw was a little bit of overbought territory from a trading standpoint. So could be very interesting there. But Stu, that's really all I saw on the news today. Everybody was digesting that. A lot of interesting stuff going on, but kind of a quiet on the oil and gas M&A front. Nothing terribly to report there. What else are we forgetting here before we let everybody go?
Nah, I just hope that we can get it into this and that let's get President Trump and not go to war. We've had about 40 tankers head over 12 hours ago. That's not a good sign when you have that many more tankers going, but it's also could be pre-positioning to stop anything as well too. So I'm hoping for the best.
Fingers crossed. Well, with that, guys, we're going to let you out of here. Get back to work. Start your day. We appreciate you checking us out here. World's greatest daily stand-up, the Energy News Beat Daily Stand-Up. For Stuart Turley, I'm Michael Tanner. We'll see you tomorrow, folks.